right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Botswana edition of Beyond the Lodge Live. And we are here with Brendan from Mogotlho. How are you, Brendan?
I'm very well, and you, Kim?
I'm very, very well. Brendan is the general manager of Mogotlho, which is our property in the Mababe concession along the Khwai River in Botswana. So please let us know where you're watching from, if you've been to Botswana, if you have any questions as we go along in our live. Normally I present with Garth, but he is off exploring one of our other properties, which is very lucky for him. And we were expecting Rex, who is the managing director of Mogotlho. But unfortunately, he's having some internet problems. So, Brendan, it's you and I today.
I guess it is.
You better be very interesting.
I hope so.
So, Brendan and I were just talking about how exciting it is that travel is starting up again and bookings are picking up, and how important this is for the wildlife areas as well as the communities that surround lodges in the whole of Africa, really. The really special thing about Mogotlho being on the Mababe concession is that it is a secluded lodge. There are no other lodges around it, which gives it a really special, exclusive feel. So, Brendan, can you tell us a little bit about the location, the community, and the concession of Mogotlho?
Sure, Kim. We're based, as you said, Mababe area, which is on the Khwai River. We basically feed off of the Okavango. So we're on the outskirts of the Okavango, a pristine area that's fed with a river that runs all year round, which allows for plentiful game. It allows for, as you said, a unique experience in that we don't share our concession with other lodges. The concession itself is managed by the community, who also, interestingly, have a share in the lodge. And so it's very hands-on. It allows us many different avenues, such as activities dealing with the community involvement, participation, and also bushwalks, night drives, and the likes, because although we are on the shoulder of two of the greatest national parks, Moremi and Chobe, being in a concession, we are allowed to, or not bound by park rules, which makes life a lot more interesting when you're out here.
So you can go off-piste.
Yes.
I think it's really important just to note here that community involvement, as well as having shares in the lodge, is an incredible bonus, beneficial for everyone, beneficial for the lodge and tourism, and beneficial for the community itself, and very educational for both as well as guests. There's a lot more insight. There's tourist revenue for the people on the ground, and yeah, it's just advantageous for all, which is wonderful. So you are actually on community land, hey?
Basically, yes. It's the land that is managed by the Mababe community.
Now, can we just quickly talk about, you said you are on the Khwai River, which is an extension of the Okavango Delta. Now, the Okavango Delta is one of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the world, and a very, very popular tourist destination. So I'm thinking that being on an extension of this, on your own secluded property, you have an experience similar to the Delta, but with no tourists. Is that true?
In a sense, Kim, yes, you are correct. As you said, we still get to experience that magic of the Okavango. Okay, we're not set in the heart of the waterways. As I said, we're on the outskirts of it, which means that we get to experience a little bit of a different bush environment. We still obviously have the Khwai River and some waterways, but it's more integrated into a bush feel, whereas the Okavango itself is a lot more waterways, canoes, makoros, and things like that. We have a lot more land that we can access. So game drives are something that we can do, and we can do them all year round because we're not in the flooded areas, let's call it that way. It also makes us accessible by vehicle.
That's something I learned about the Khwai River the other day, is that it doesn't dry up because it is fed all year round, which does mean that you have constant wildlife, like consistent wildlife traffic and they're around more. I had a better word for it, but it slipped my mind.
No worries.
Okay, so you're on the Khwai River, and as I understand, I haven't been there yet, so I am waiting for an invite. Our lodge is surrounded by camel thorn trees.
Yes, yes.
And these have pods which elephants love.
They do indeed. So the camel thorn tree is also known as the Mogotlho tree, which is the name of the lodge. And they produce these wonderful pods. And we're actually going into season with them now. And the elephants, we call them elephant biscuits, to the point that you can watch an elephant brace a tree and start rocking it so that they fall like rain. And it just draws myriads of elephants into the area because we have so many of these wonderful trees.
I love that. So do they come through the lodge, or is the lodge fenced? Is the lodge protected?
We had to put up an elephant fence to keep them out, because not only do they come for our trees, and incidentally, all of our tents are placed underneath these trees for shade. And it can be quite a frightening experience if you were to wake up in the middle of the night and have an elephant straddling your tent trying to get to these pods. But not only that, obviously,
as well as the water.
Exactly, yeah. They go crazy for clean water, and so they can be destructive. So when you say fenced off, it's an elephant fence. Anything and everything else is able to walk through the lodge. We have a bunch of grumpy old buffalo that live inside the lodge, hence the reason we drive our guests to their tents. But we also have several hyena. Quite often that lion will walk through the lodge. So it's still that wild feel, but the elephants, we decided, let's keep them at bay.
Which is wise. You can look at them from a distance, which is respectful and important in the wild.
Indeed, yes.
So I'm going to ask Mickey to start our slideshow, our background fairy, just to have a look at what is offered at Mogotlho and the facilities that Mogotlho provides. So I think we've basically gone through where the lodge is located, but can you talk to us about the tents and the main area, the swimming pool and the deck? Just give us a little example of what guests can expect when they get to the lodge itself.
All right, so we are 13 tents, although we sleep 24 guests in order to keep it more intimate. The tents are very well equipped. The idea that we had was the bush is outside. Let's keep the tents modern and neat, but comfortable from the inside. They all have ceiling fans. They are fully powered. We run the entire lodge on solar power. Our main area, we brought in a swimming pool. It gets incredibly hot here, especially over October, where you're reaching 45 degrees Celsius plus. So there's nothing nicer than to grab a beer and dive into that pool after a game drive. Main areas is also very well appointed.
Interrupt. I think our next slide is a really lovely picture showing the rooms themselves. Here we go. Here's your pool, your dining area, and the bedrooms as well. Sorry, you may continue.
There we go. Yeah. So each room can either be a king size bed, or we can split it into twin sharing. They are spacious, and the idea again was just to allow for those wonderful views, as you can see from the photo there, lying in your bed and watching the elephant or buffalo outside, hippos roaming past you at night. But we've kept them powered. Obviously, you have all the trappings that one would look for in a luxury lodge. Our main area also very well appointed. We have a lounge. We have a fully stocked bar, a very friendly barman, and he's always our go-to. That's it, yes. And then we serve buffet dinners again, 3-course. We keep it good.
But now this lady here who looks like she's carving something absolutely delicious, is this an everyday dinner, or this is a specific bush dinner experience?
This is a specific bush dinner experience, which one would request when booking. It is a unique experience. Obviously, you're out in the middle of nowhere. We have a wonderful spot that we've chosen, which surrounds you with the river. You have a couple of interesting, or could have some interesting encounters in the evening. Our guides are always on standby. But there's just something different and unique about eating under the stars with the sounds around you, not knowing what's 20 meters away. It's a unique and wonderful experience.
It's a very sensory experience because I mean, you're listening, like you're enveloped by the sounds of the bush. And there's a lot out there. And what can sound like a lion or an elephant is like a little shrew. But because your senses are so heightened, you know,
Absolutely.
you kind of hear everything. And then, of course, under a blanket of African stars is just, I mean, and there's no light pollution around whatsoever. So it's completely lit up by lanterns and starlight, which
That's
is very
yes.
special. It's very, very special.
It is.
Our next slide, I think, is a view of the room from a slightly different angle. There you go. And that's where is this a family room?
Yes. So if you look through the doors there, you'll see 2 beds on each side, and then you walk through into the parents' room. So we have a small divider. So if the kids are getting a bit ruckus, you can always shut them out and then lock the door, so you're sure of their safety. But we've elongated those tents so that there's a little bit more space. We can comfortably sleep a family of 4.
I love the fact that the floors are wooden. It's a very homely, warm feel to a tented camp. It's really, really nice, very natural feel. Because it's this newly renovated, hey?
It is indeed. We've now been operating. We opened just at the onset of the Delta variant, if you recall. So we've literally still brand new, considering the last year has been very, very quiet. So a big challenge to keep it maintained and kept up, but I think it's still looking 100%.
No, it's beautiful. It's very beautiful. Right. I think we are now talking about, there's the lodge from a really nice drone perspective. You can see the pool overlooking the Khwai River. So I imagine at sunset, it's a great spot to be with animals coming down to quench their thirst as we are quenching our thirst on the deck as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
the sun sets just over the river. If you're sitting on the deck towards your right, it provides for the most amazing photographs. And incidentally, you'll see a small little building to the left of the main area. It is the best room in the lodge, and it is the public toilet. And I tell you what, many of our guests, they arrive, they go to this room with a view, and often will sit far longer than they really need to and come out and tell me, well, that has got to be the best view I've ever had while sitting on the royal throne.
That's awesome. We should do a post about it. You know, best loos with the view.
Definitely.
Okay, so now the activities, which I love about Mogotlho, is, as you said, you've got access to a lot more sort of bush and wilderness, as well as water. So you do your bushwalks and you do your night drives. Now, night drives is something that I don't know if many people get to do, but can you speak us through, especially since there's a picture of a leopard here, and that's a lot, that's an animal on most people's Africa bucket lists.
To-do list, yes.
Yeah, to see and to do.
For me, a night drive is a unique experience because it's not only the night, the leopards and lions and the likes that you do have the opportunity of seeing. It puts you in touch with the smaller nocturnal animals that are often unknown of or unheard of, like anteaters and jennets and wild cats and serval and the likes. And then, of course, we have an owl safari where we have several different species of beautiful owls that come out at night. And being out on these drives puts you in touch with them. These kind of birds you never get to see or hear of. It's not only that, and then add to that the star safari, where, as you say, with no light pollution, I've had people break down in tears when they look up and just cannot believe what they're seeing above their heads. Most Europeans would say to you, well, the only thing we ever see is an aircraft flying overhead. So there's so many different aspects of a night drive that you can really integrate. It's not only just about the leopards and lions. And as I say, there's always that opportunity, but it gives you that a completely different experience to what you would have during the day.
And I think, I mean, the couple of night drives I have been on, I can still, again, it's a sensory experience, and I can still, the bush smells different at night. I don't know. It's like you can smell the bush, you can, you know, the wind on your face, as well as if an owl does fly past, you can really hear it. You can hear its wings, you can hear its call. It's all very clear, I feel, in the night. Even though
I
it's
guess
dark.
I would think that you mentioned the bush walks, and I think a night drive in that sense is similar in that your senses are heightened because you're out of your comfort zone. You know, in the day you can see what's ahead. Nighttime you can't, and so immediately you are appreciating so much more. You are quite right there.
Yeah. And the bushwalks as well. I mean, I've always been a little bit nervous, but the guides who I've gone with, the professional guides, have been brilliant in terms of reading the bush, and teaching you how to read the bush so that it's not so foreign or perhaps it's not so overwhelming. Even down to the crack of a stick or the movement of a bush, saying, right, what has gone on here? We can tell a story here of something that we haven't seen, but it's left its tail. It's left, I don't know, an episode of the bush that day, you know. And it's a really incredible thing, and it's also just so lovely to learn about the ecosystem as a whole, rather than just. And when I say rather than just seeing the big five or elephant or whatever, that is incredible in itself. But it's just a wonderful, extensive understanding of where you are in your environment and how it all links together. And then, Brendan, you have two very different perspectives as well. You've got wildlife from a mokoro and wildlife from the air in a helicopter. Can you tell us about those?
Well, yes, absolutely. A mokoro or dugout experience is also something, if you're not used to it, it's quite an experience because you're in the water. So immediately the animals sort of tend to disregard you, which allows you to come a hang of a lot closer. Especially you'll see elephants there in the photograph, and they're far more tolerant. Again, it also just introduces you into the aquatic life and a different part of the ecosystem and the wonderful bird life that you find that accompanies this river. So that is, again, a fantastic experience. Seeing it from the air is, in my mind, one of the best things that one could want, being that we are part of the Okavango. Just getting your head around how large and how big the area is, how wild and how free it all is, without any fences, where the animals are just roaming. You get that perspective from the air. And again, you're not having to cover distances on a vehicle trying to find animals. It's a lot easier from up above to spot these. And so it gives you these opportunities to also come in, find animals, and watch them from above. It's a unique experience, and it's one I've done a few times, and I just can't get enough of it.
I can see you're almost speechless about it yourself, and you know it well. I was going to say my experience of doing I think you call it a heli flip, hey, or one calls it a heli flip, or helicopter ride over a national park and over the Delta. One of my favorite things is seeing and understanding the intricacy and the linking with all the animal corridors and how far animals travel and how those corridors are very much a part of their sort of innate understanding of the land. And you just get a much bigger and better idea of an area from the air. So all the activities that you offer give lovely dimensions of on foot. When I say you offer, I say we, but I'm still waiting for my invite. So, so all the activities that we offer are from the air, on foot, at night, in the morning, and on the water, which is a lovely holistic idea of Mababe and Khwai, as well as the Delta. We are going on to the next slide, and then we actually have to end just now, but there's just so much more to say. So here's just to show the range of wildlife that you get in the Mababe concession. Elephants, wild dog. There's a lion pride that often we get stories from Brendan, what's happening and updates. The time lion, as I like to call it. And then, as you were saying, an incredible bird life as well. I think because there's always water, there's always species of all.
There's always something to see.
There's always
absolutely, and obviously with the ebb and the flow of the seasons, again, such a variety that changes throughout the year. So always something different to see.
It must be amazing to be based there and watch the bush change and the species come and go and the migrations and the different characters of the seasons, which I love about being in the bush. And finally, for those who are listening, we have a very exciting announcement that there is a competition launching, and there is a link that's going to come up on the screen, which you must follow because there is a question waiting for you. And if you answer that question, you may win 2 nights for 2 people at our Botswana property, Mogotlho, Khwai River in the Mababe concession, and experience the community, wildlife, river life, and from the air. So, yeah. So, Brendan, you'll be hosting the lucky winners.
Well, indeed.
Yeah, I wish it were me. I hope to be visiting you soon. And thank you so much for joining us today, all the way from Mogotlho itself, from the mothership.
Pleasure. Thank you. From the mothership, indeed.
And we look forward to more of your stories and chatting to you soon. Thank you for everyone for joining. And we look forward to announcing a winner.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.